Hades fans, welcome to Before the Bounce, where we'll be previewing today's Round 5 clash with the Tigers. I know there'll be a lot of questions about how the hub situation looks, when we're leaving, and exactly who's going. The club wants to focus on today's game first, so we'll get you that information a little later on. Today, we're going to hear from James Harms and assistant coach Troy Chaplin, but firstly, we have to take a look at how we're going to line up. We haven't made a change to the team that lost to Geelong by 3 points, and Simon Goodwin says it's important to build some continuity among the main group.
And I think that's the one thing about our team is that we need to build continuity, to help build that cohesion the way we played. We made 7 changes to the team, and we made another 5 from round 2 to round 3 based on availability. So, as I said, we're pretty comfortable with how we're tracking. It's just a matter of building that and getting some results.
Today will be our first opportunity to play 2 games in a row for the season, and hopefully that will allow this small forward line to fire. Last week we had 46 inside 50s for just the 6 goals, but I don't think it was that bombing issue that affected us so much last year. As we take a look at a few of these examples, there are a lot of skill errors more so than decision errors. So Brayshaw's kick a little bit too high for Fritch here. This next one, Hunty puts it to the advantage of Mitchy Hannon, just lets the ball slip through there. We look at Vines, he's under a bit of pressure, it's the right option, but the kick too hot for Fritch. And then of course the indecision, Cozzy doesn't go with his first option there, Melky gets caught holding the ball. And then this one where the boys flick around the handball a little bit too much, create pressure for themselves. So if they can get an early goal or 2, you might see the confidence in that forward line, which would go a long way to us winning the game. Now it's time to welcome our first guest for the afternoon, James Harms. Welcome, Harmsy.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Have a look at this eye. How's that shiner going?
Yeah, the eye's not too bad. It's my first ever shiner, so proud of this one. But it's feeling pretty good, mate.
How did you cop it?
Third quarter last week, just copped one a little bit high. Got cold holding the ball, so a bit flat about that. But it's all good, and I'm raring to go today.
Hopefully it doesn't affect the vision. You played up the ground a bit more last week after starting the year in defence. Where can you expect to line up today?
Yeah, I'll probably more predominantly forward and back inside on the ball. Hibbo came back into the side, so it allowed me to go forward. And, really looking forward to playing that role. I think that's probably where I'm best suited, and can't wait to get out there today. Any
chance of playing like a forward defensive role? You played a few tagging, did a few jobs last year.
Not at this stage, but they've got a couple of weapons down there, especially Basher Hooley. If he gets off the chain, I'm sure my name could get thrown up there to go to him. And a good opportunity today against a good side in Richmond to sort of go up with a bit of momentum. Yeah, that's it. They've probably struggled a little bit with form the last couple of weeks, so I'm sure they'll come out firing today. So if we can get a win today, take that up to Sydney, that'll really set us off for a good campaign up there. Thanks for your time, Harmsy. Go well today. Cheers, mate.
Troy Chaplin will join us shortly, but first we've got to do an Oppo watch and take a look at Richmond's 22 for today. They've made 4 changes from last week's loss to the Saints, with Noah Bolter, Daniel Rioli, Mabior Chol and debutant Jake Arts coming into the side. The big out is David Asprey, who is missing with a knee injury. Now, we know what the Tigers are capable of. They're the reigning premiers, of course, but they have shown a few weaknesses early in the season. Since coming back from the week off, their first quarters have been a bit of an issue. Scored just 1 point against Collingwood and 1 point against Hawthorn, and then conceded 5 goals to the Saints last week. But it's their pressure that I want to look at here. St Kilda are a fast side, and they got out the back a couple of times against Richmond last week. So if we can play that attacking game, we might be able to open it up and hit them on the scoreboard. Now it's time to hear from assistant coach Troy Chaplin. Welcome, Chappie.
Thanks, Gibbo. Thanks for having me.
We know Richmond have a dangerous forward line. They've got Lynch, Riewoldt, Dusty Rest down there. Do you feel like we match up pretty well against them?
Oh, look, it's always going to be challenging when you've got quality opposition, but we think Maisie will take Lynchy. That'll be a good matchup for us, and Joel will play on Riewoldt, so he'll get first crack at it, and Dusty down there, Hibbo. So we have got the matchups, but look, your defence is only as good as the rest of the team, so we need to make sure we pressure really well and give our defenders every chance to halve or win contests.
I thought we gave up a few slightly easy goals last week. Langdon didn't take one out of bounds. One got over the goal line. Do you feel like those basic errors just need to be tidied up a little bit? Yeah,
definitely. It was both ends of the ground. It was taking the ball over the line, giving a 50 away. We had Gorney on the line at one stage, and we didn't protect him to spoil it through, and our forwards didn't get back right up the ground, and Duncan had an easy one inside 50, and then Dangerfield gets a handball around the back. So we're talking about 5 goals, and then at the other end we dropped 5 marks inside 50. So we showed the players during the week just for them to understand how close they actually are. So It's got nothing to do with system. That's just execution in the moment. So we feel like we're not too far away, and hopefully we can get a win today.
We have only conceded 7 goals the last 2 games. Do you feel like it is a pretty strong group at the moment?
Yeah, defensively we're actually going pretty well. So we're not giving up many scores. I think we're the 5th best in the league at the moment. So we face another challenge today against a team who haven't been going great, but we know what they're capable of. So it's going to be a challenge that we're really looking forward to.
Geelong took 105 uncontested marks last week. Has that been something that we've focused on defensively to sort of slow that down?
Oh, look, we spoke about it. It's one of those things that the players have to be aware of that in the moment. The way that we scouted Geelong, they've been playing some surge football and then decided to come out and take marks, and we just sat back. So as players, we needed to come forward quicker. It was a message at quarter time, because obviously you can only use the runner so many times during a quarter, and then the second quarter was really good, and then the third quarter, once again, we started retreating. So it was disappointing that we conceded that many marks. Did it hurt us on the scoreboard? No, but you just defend for long periods of time, and it's not sustainable for 4 quarters of football.
Well, I'll let you go, Chappie. Thanks very much for your time.
No worries, Gibbo. Cheers.
Now, just before we wrap things up here on Before the Bounce, I want to give you a couple of things to look out for. As we touched on, Geelong played a real kick-mark style game last week, and it's hard to do anything about it when we don't have the ball in hand. But the little things do make a big difference, such as manning the mark. Now, as we take a look at a few of these examples last week, it's quite picky, but you see here, Hunty just keeps running, leaves a bit of space and allows Geelong to go forward. This one here, late in the game, so harsh on Tomlinson, but he doesn't quite take the corridor, allows Geelong to run through and hit up Hawkins. This is a positive example. So Langdon pushes really hard, gets there to cut off the space, slows Geelong down. A few here in the forward line. If the boys in the forward line can pressure Geelong to go back and across, it allows us to set up behind the ball, and then that will make a difference in trying to turn it over and get some better looks in attack. So keep an eye out for what we're doing without the ball in hand today. Speaking of little things, a few of you may have missed this unbelievable effort from Clayton Oliver last week, kicking the ball out of defence, and the work rate without the ball to get there, lay the tackle and really set the tone for his teammates was something special. So little things like that, defensive acts, make a big difference in a game of footy. Now the next thing I want to look at is Bailey Fritch. Probably by his own admission would be down on his best form, but he's close, he's really close, and when he hits his best, he's going to make a big difference in this forward line. As we take a look at some of these examples, we know he's a beautiful kick of the ball. He's only kicked 2 goals 7 this season. A lot of that is because he's marking it quite wide and taking really tough shots on goal like this. But the thing with Fritter is his effort is still there. As we see in this next example, doesn't quite get to the contest, but he follows up, puts on the pressure, lays the tackle on Blitzarve. So that's going to start to turn to form, and when he hits the scoreboard, it's going to make a big difference for his side. Now, one thing I thought that was worth mentioning is I was standing on the boundary line last week when Patrick Dangerfield laid this tackle on Trent Rivers. You can't always hear that whack, but when there's no one in the stands and I'm standing 1 metre away, you can certainly feel it. So sometimes we forget just how hard this game is. That's all from Before the Bounce. I hope you enjoyed the insights. Stay tuned for more social coverage in the lead up to the game.